HM Productions presents White Devil Podcast.
Welcome to the White Devil Podcast, episode 19, the Mega Man 2.0 cast. Yes, we're finally returning to the topic that was the topic of the very first podcast that I hosted, and it's only appropriate that we should have the guests who were also on that very first podcast. Well, one of them was a guest, now he's my co-host. Please welcome Retro Kaiser. Kaiser?
Sorry, it's early in the morning. I'm a bit loopy. Hey!
That's perfectly normal.
Shut up!
And also, welcome back again, our good friend, one of my mini Let's Play buddies at this point, and also video game reviewer, YouTuber extraordinaire, Ken Aqualung Blakey.
Greetings and salutations. It's not early nor late here where I am, so I'm not loopy, but I am sick. So, we're all on the same level here, I think.
Oh boy. And also, just for the heck of it, I decided, let's have two new guests on the podcast. Two completely new guests. So first of all, please welcome John, Mr. Weenie.
What's going on, guys?
And also, a former member of It's Tale Time, you may know him as BlackBeltDragon. We'll here call him Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hello, everybody. Now, of course, when it comes to dragons and black belt dragons, let me tell you, mess with this dragon and you'll feel the burn. That's
nice pun, man.
That's
good. That was good.
That's actually my catchphrase I use every end of my movie reviews.
Ah, nice. Yeah. All right. So, this is, of course, the part of the podcast where we usually introduce our guests and whatnot. People who have maybe listened to previous podcasts, they sure as hell know who Kaiser is, because this guy's everywhere. Ken has also been on the podcast many times, and we've done a bunch of cartoons together, and also a Let's Play of a Mega Man game, appropriately enough. But we have these two new guests on here. So, John, in case people listening to this don't know who you are and what you do, why don't you tell everyone quickly, what you do and what you're known for?
All right, well, long story short, Mr. Weenie Productions is a channel name that my sister helped me come up with when I first got started back in 2012. And one of the reasons why I went with it was because I wasn't sure if it would really go anywhere. Because, for one, I was, at first the kind of guy that would do like random stuff, like video game reviews and motivational videos and talk about sports and all that stuff. And then I eventually, started like an actual direction where I would focus on reviewing video games and talk about TV shows like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and talk about different, toy products. So that's pretty much what I do now. I mainly do like Power Ranger stuff and occasionally like a vlog videos on like different topics like movies and like stuff I enjoy. But overall, I try to just try to have fun with it. Like, I know people try to make it their profession and they take it seriously. To me, it's more like a hobby, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. And plus, on top of that, I'm trying to I'm not that big of a channel yet, but I also want to try to help smaller channels get out there. So I have different ideas on how I want to make that happen. So
yeah.
Because with me, I have a very, good connection with my fan base, so I want to make sure, that I let everybody know how awesome they are and how important they are. And those who want to, say, one day become big on YouTube, I want to let them know that, hey, anything's possible, but it's always good to be patient and to just have fun, because in the end, that's what we're here for, to have fun and to appreciate that,
nice.
The time we have. So
nice, yeah. Nice. And also, it seems to be a bit of a specialty, but would you say that you do a lot of Power Rangers videos?
Yeah, pretty much. When it comes to the TV show and the toy reviews and all that stuff, I get so many requests on a daily basis on of course the new season Dino Charge, and I may not sound loopy at all, but I actually haven't slept at all. I've been busy trying to get done my next review of Dino Charge, but I had to refilm it because my computer kept shutting down, so I had to refilm the voiceovers 3 times in a row, and now I finally have it saved, so I got to edit it later on. So
that is the worst.
Me. I'm the working man.
Man. But nice to have you on here. And Chris, why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Pretty much right now I do video game reviews, movie reviews, and thoughts videos. The thoughts videos comes from the point of where I kind of like anything that's popular right now or anything that a lot of people are talking about, like a cartoon, anime, or something out of Japan, like an anime that people can see here, or even like maybe a very independent movie I kind of do. But talk about like how I began. It first started like I kind of came late to YouTube. It was very vague. Like I was one of those people who wasn't that professional yet, even though I was kind of like in a film class, doing these kind of like videos and editing software. I knew how to do editing software, but I didn't had it because when I did videos, I pretty much just recorded what I could record and then just put it online, and then that's pretty much it. But then later on, my friend Crash Jack Fan 1994, he kind of like got me into like film, like got me into more film. Like I didn't really like when I was in film class, I got into these other films, but then when I got to him, he kind of like showed me Terminator and stuff, and pretty much I started being more professional when it comes to like seeing really good films, and
Terminator's a good place to start.
Yes. Terminator like was one of those even the second Terminator I saw and I'm just like, yeah, I started respecting films more. I then eventually got to Star Wars. I started seeing all these films that I never thought were existed before because I wasn't really much of I don't think I was a retro guy back then. I pretty much just got what it gave to me, but then after speaking with my brother and stuff, I started collecting game consoles, and then like I started watching like YouTube videos, and I just started YouTubing
And Chris, just to cut you off, so you say you came late to YouTube. What do you mean by late? When did you start?
Like I think I started like in 2010. Like
And
it was
John, when did you start doing YouTube?
2012.
Oh man,
I was
it
very
makes you
late.
can't feel old. We started this back in 2006.
like in 2010, like a lot of other people like did other professional editing software and camera work, and I was just one of those guys who just was. I kind of considered myself back then the Ed Wood of YouTube.
Well, that's putting yourself on a bit of a pedestal.
Because really, like, it felt that way in so many ways, because all I did was just record it on my phone, and I never edited anything, and, like, I felt like the reason why I never got that many views was because my videos weren't that professional enough. But then later on, I started getting a professional camera, I started, like, getting, like, editing software, like, really professional editing software, kind of use, like, movie.
Yeah, I think we had this whole big conversation just before we started the podcast about like where you start from, like, with YouTube. Like, it's okay if your first few videos are a little crappy, but you get better and you attain the skills and the tools.
Heck, it took me 9 years before I finally started to become good.
Probably that long to finish Retrocaiser the game as well.
Yes, but it does depend on like what you're gonna get at, because it's all started with gaming and movies, and now I'm also part of a kind of a fan base. I'm also part of a fan base that I do not think I'd want to explain, because it's just a fan base, and it's a very popular fan base you do not want to know about. Like,
there's also a bit of a story here back about John coming onto the podcast. Like, John, you may not necessarily know this, but Sendu's been bugging me to have you on this podcast for like ever. Like, I can't even remember. I wish he was here to actually remind me when he first asked me to have you on the podcast. But it might have been back when I was still on It's Tail Time. But Chris, definitely, he asked me to be on this podcast already back when I was in It's Tail Time, and that was early 2014. So this has been a long time in the making.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
I want it to be like in that podcast where we were talking about like action movies or Jackie Chan or video games. I would just be like, yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. And
you actually lucked out that it was Mega Man and we finally made it happen.
Well, no, I'm not saying I lucked out, though. I do have to say I'm not like the hugest fan of, like the biggest fan of Mega Man, though I do love his games.
Okay, well, we'll get to the games. We'll get to the games eventually, but how about people's individual projects? So let's ask about that a little bit. So Kaiser, what are you working on right now besides moving again?
Well,
Kaiser's had the most rotten luck. Like, you've You moved like 5 times this year, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's frustrating every single time. But no, I am. Hopefully, I can get those 2 new episodes of Kaiser Records out. I've got a new Let's Play coming out of Sonic the Hedgehog CD with Sendu
Sweet.
coming up,
Say it's
and
awesome. CD's awesome.
uh,
Sorry.
well, you'll probably hate me for some of the things me and Sendu have to say in that Let's Play.
Well, whatever. What else is new? Like Sonic, the destroyer of friendships on this podcast, apparently.
That blue hedgehog's a curse, man.
Just on previous podcasts, we had a whole big hullabaloo about the different Sonic cartoons, and it caused a bit of a rift. Let's put it that way. With Retro Kaiser and the rest of the people on the podcast.
Yes, because the voice of Steve Urkel is definitely the professional to be Sonic the Hedgehog. That's pretty much.
Hey! Joey White was a perfectly good Sonic.
I mean, yes. Actually, I did find him a very exciting Sonic. Though, it also, fun fact, he was actually going to voice Sonic, the original classic Sonic, in Sonic Generations. But then they somehow couldn't get him, or that there was some kind of issue trying to get him to come over to record his vocals. But then they decided to just make Sonic silent, just like in the original games, since he didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
Oh, great! Thanks for reminding me. With all this Sonic causing a rift amongst you, now I can just picture Julian White going, "Did I do that?"
Jesus. Okay. But hey, some of the more recent stuff that you've written quite a few reviews as of late. I've seen them, and sadly I haven't had time to read all of them. You wrote a review on the remake of Apes Odyssey, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Get to that game. I have to.
I'm also working on a lot more reviews. Because that's what I do. I write reviews. I write, and write. It's what I enjoy doing.
Sweet. And also, in case people are interested, me and Retro Kaiser, of course, have a Let's Play series going on right now, Broken Sword 2, The Smoking Mirror, and that's on my channel. But I'll also link to...
Talking about Penn and Teller, my friend?
Your reviews? Kaiser, where can people read your reviews?
Well, you can read them on several websites, actually.
But most of them are on Mondo Cool, right?
Yeah, MondoCoolcast.com.
Oh.
Hey!
So I'll put those on.
And if you want to be lazy, just check out my channel. I put a review recap out every week of all the reviews I've done.
Okay. And then Ken, what have you been working on?
I've got an Atari review that I'm working on right now. Also Atari rules. We have a planned Let's Play coming up. I don't know when we're gonna get to it, but we will.
Oh yeah. I seem to have infected people with the Let's Play bug.
Yeah, it's something I like to crack once in a
Can
while.
I make a suggestion to your Atari video? I definitely would make sure that you put out the quote, "Have you played Atari today?" Put out.
Well, it's not a review of the console.
Well, I know, but if you're still talking about Atari,
is that like an old catchphrase?
No, that was from a commercial, and also another one is Vanguard. Have you played Vanguard today? Luther destroys the god. I think I saw that somewhere.
Oh, so, ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Mr. Weenie has left the building. He had to rush off urgently. So, yeah, that bites. But at least we'll continue with this. So interrupt in there.
You still got me, man.
You just actually recently had an Atari review come out. You reviewed Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the Atari.
Yeah, I always have one in between every either walkthrough or a standard review on another console. It's kind of like my I try to bang one out as quick as possible, and then hold off for a week or so before uploading it, so that way I have more time to work on the longer videos, and then I can kind of release them with a decent amount of time in between without having to put it off for too long, which is hard enough because I've got a lot of other things that I have going on, aside from everyday life work, and I also am in a band, so I
Oh yeah.
bang that out. And I'm also starting a new project, a new video project where I'd make 15-minute cuts of films, full-length films. I actually finished one, but then there was an issue with the every time I made a chop in the video, it would make this clicky noise in between each cut. So by the time I got done, well, I finished the whole thing, and then it sounded like ass. I think it all had to do with my capturing. Video
Okay.
capturing. So I put
know
that
your
to the
pain.
side.
I know your pain.
Okay, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, all kinds of problems. All kinds of
Right.
problems.
So I'm gonna get back to it at some point and try to just match exactly what I did the first
Yeah.
time. But,
There is no rush, man. There's always perfection
yeah.
in trying to professionalize your videos.
But I wanted to bring up that Texas Chainsaw Massacre one because it was really funny. I always find your Atari reviews really funny, even though because they are kind of short and you get to the point very quickly. But it's like funny. Like one year you're doing Resident Evil for the PlayStation, and this year it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the Atari.
There is no shame in that, Hanu.
Yeah.
There is no shame in that whatsoever.
Yeah,
You
but
can
it's so fun.
do
I loved that Resident Evil video too.
Yeah, but like you can do like anything you want with your when you're reviewing stuff. Even if it's something old, even if it's something new, no matter what it is, it's still like very good. As long as the quality of the video is good, well written and stuff, it's just you have to put that out.
Yeah, but I just thought that was really funny. And you did not like that game a lot, did you? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I mean.
no, I can't imagine anybody did.
Yeah.
Not even the nerd. The nerd didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has such a low standard.
Yeah, and also here's the thing. Do you mind if I say something about that Let's Play project that we're trying to get off the ground? I mean, I think I blurted it out, actually, because me and Sendu did a Let's Play that hasn't come out yet as well. But the game that we're planning to Let's Play is Super Pitfall.
What?
Because me and Ken have a deep-rooted connection with that game.
No, why would you ever play that piece of...
Well, because Ken's beaten it. He did a whole video where he beat it. I saw that.
No, but like, it's not fun. It's
subscribed
not
to
fun. You would come out traumatized if you play that game. I know I
Wait a
kind of
second.
did.
Is Super Pitfall the one for the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive?
No,
It's the NES.
That's the one on the NES.
Oh, okay.
It's funny. It's funny that you'd think that it would be because of Super Nintendo's gimmick of having.
Yeah, but it had not even come out, and it's
Because I was confused because I have played the one that came out on the Mega.
But like no joke, like no joke. It's fair to say like me and Ken's like friendship is built upon that game because it was that video specifically that got me to subscribe to his channel, and I have done subtitles to that video. It was a 3-part video because this was back in the old when YouTube videos could only be 10 minutes days, wasn't it? And
right.
Yeah, and it's and I even at one point, no joke, I watched that video all the way through. I wrote down all the instructions that you said, and I actually tried to beat the game on an emulator and ended up giving up. I had written instructions, and I still end up giving up.
You have a professional controller, like there are USB NES controllers for some reason, or just regular
keyboard. Like I had no controller.
You have to buy one. It's very better that if you buy a
doubt
professional
that game
controller.
would help much.
No, it would. It actually does because I sometimes when
I'm just saying that Super Pitfall's controls are so fucking terrible.
Even if it would help in a way to like feel a little bit more comfortable because I played a game before with not that great of controls and I played on the keyboard first, but when you actually get a controller for it, it's a little better, better.
Yeah, with that game specifically, like where the bullets don't hit like 90% of the enemies and everything because they just sail right over them, like that is a badly designed game.
It's not just that. It's like it's even like the enemies in general.
You're saving. That's the part that should be complicating matters. That's a direct quote from the video, by the way.
Who is this like? And also, what are you trying to play poker with her? Like in the end, like you have to collect these like little poker items.
Oh yeah, club the diamonds and everything.
And then guess what? To finish the game after you get her.
Ken, do you have the whole like the outline of the game when you beat it? Do you have it like memorized or?
No, not really. I mean, I kind of not really. So I know where to go as far as like the the general path, but as far as picking up items, where to go to get all of them, that's kind of a blur.
Yeah.
This is pretty much you save the princess, you
Yep.
then head to the beginning of the game, and then you somehow drop somewhere, and then pretty much the game ends.
Yeah. It's the yeah. I'm just wondering, like,
All those crazy warps, I know. I definitely know. I have a cousin who
Who warps from a bird? A bird is a warp.
right, and especially when you have other birds that kill you. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so I think
What
it's gonna be
kid
it's
in
gonna
the
be interesting
1990s
for the
know that?
fans to finally see you play the game because I don't know, is that like a well-known video by you, or is there some other video that you think has maybe people
Well,
maybe know you more from?
well, I don't know. It's one of my older videos, so it's naturally had more opportunity to get more clicks. I think the one that's there's I don't know. Every once in a while I go in and look at see which ones have the most views, but I don't really remember where it ranks up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like some old school Aqualung fans are gonna get a kick out of that, but that's okay. But yeah, I think we talked about your projects, all of them, or is there something you still want to mention?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. And Chris, what are you working on right now?
Me, right now, like I said before, it involves that show that I have a fan base about. I'm working on a top 10 list of my favorite episodes and my non-favorite episodes. And when I eventually go see the movies, I'm going to see Spectre and like the Peanuts movie. I'm going to be doing pretty much my film-wise reviews on those. And yeah, after that, I'm going to be like doing I'm going to be doing like gonna be reviewing Star Wars: The Force Awakens. That's just the next thing. And then later, I'm pretty much just gonna be doing vlogs of the show that I'm watching and my thoughts videos. There's still gonna be some, on newer games and everything. The biggest project that I think I would be working on would still be Episode 2 of Game Quest. And yeah, it's gonna take a while because I know it's like a huge hiatus, but that's what it is. It's because it's very hard to like make a professional review when even though you know what you're doing. Plus, I
Yeah.
have to deal with like half of the editing that I do is from my friend CrashJackFan1994. He pretty much feels like the director of almost everything. Though, we both write the script together, we both make sure that we have good shots, and then like I do most of the editing, but then there's points where he has to do most of the editing, and it's just this scrambled mess of just trying to make sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard for me to just schedule him because personal lives, jobs, things, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We have this kind of deep schedule. We do have gaps. Definitely, we have gaps in our lives where he works on blogs and stuff of movies and TV shows, and he's also right now working on this like Metal Gear month where he's going to review every Metal Gear game from what I've heard. Yeah, and I sometimes do written reviews as well, but yeah, the only big project I'm really on right now is the Game Quest Episode 2. I'm not going to tell what the game is, but I am going to tell you that it does involve like one of the Universal monsters. If you remember who Boris Karloff ever played the second time, it's definitely not Frankenstein, it's someone else. I don't know if you know.
Okay. As for me, obviously, by the time this is coming out, we're finally pushing out the finale of the Ocarina of Time Let's Play. We're still doing the Donkey Kong Country 64 Donkey Kong 64 Let's Play. And then, of course, there's the simultaneously I've been pushing out the Gabriel Knights and the Broken Swords Let's Plays. The Broken Sword one with Retro Kaiser, as I mentioned before. The Gabriel Knight one with Durabka. And then I did record a Let's Play with Sendu. Hasn't come out yet as of this recording. I don't know when it's going to come out because but that's kind of a teaser for anybody who's a big Sendu fan. So he's got stuff cooking. And I am going to there is a game review I'm working on right now. It's going to come out pretty soonish, I think. There's a little thing about it that I have to work out, and I just hope that having bought just recently Mario Maker is not gonna like destroy all my or like eat up all
Oh,
my
Mario Maker, you'll have a blast. You'll have a blast with Mario Maker. I have it myself.
I've already had
and
a
it's
plenty of a blast with it, so but
like
I hope that it's not gonna start like eating up all my free time. Probably
no,
not.
no, no. It
Just-
doesn't. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that.
yeah.
But I also going back to your Ocarina of Time one. Really, is it taking you that long to finish it? It took me like maybe like an hour or two just to finish the whole game once, not
A whole hour. Okay.
or two. Like I'm
Well,
sorry, it's just because I played that game like I think a few times already before that I've just gotten used to just beating it in such a quick time. I've even beat the 3DS. Well, the first one I played is the 3DS version.
that is a really fast play time. Well, it's the thing. It's slightly different, I guess, when you do a let's play or talking about stuff, and also because we've been doing with me and Minna, and we stopped to look at all the cutscenes and we do silly voice acting and everything. So there's a whole there's a whole lot of things that we do in the middle of everything.
Like,
So
is
it's
your
not.
Ocarina of Time walkthrough? Is it like you're finishing everything? Like you're trying to get like the gigantic sword from that? I forget the name of those brown people, like those brown like animal kind of listing people from Death Mountain.
Gorons.
Gorons.
Yeah,
Like you're trying to get like.
yeah, we have a whole episode where we got the big Goron sword and everything. So
Oh, so that's right. That's probably why it's taking so long.
yeah, no, it's not a speed run in the very least. It's quite the opposite. There's a little bit of meandering, like not too badly. Like if you want to see meandering, like go check out that Gabriel Knight Let's Play. Like ooh boy.
Yeah, I understand what you're going through,
But
but
it's you know it's fun. It's been
I know,
been a blast. But like even but it's just good to get the finale out like next like the week following the recording of this is when I'm gonna be pushing out the finale. But I think that does it for the introduction. So we're gonna stop, take a little break, and when we come back, we're gonna be talking about Mega Man 5. And welcome back. And now we're finally ready to talk about Mega Man in all its glory. And so, first of all, in case people have not listened to the first White Devil podcast that was ever made, which might be a lot of people, but just to remind everybody about everyone's, just to remind people of Kaiser's, myself, and Ken's favorites from way back when. And then I'm going to ask Chris's favorite. Well, Ken's favorite is obviously Mega Man 2, as I recall.
Yeah, that's definitely correct. And since that's such a an obvious choice, I'll include 3 as a close second.
Oh yeah.
Despite how easy it is, it's almost too easy, but it's a very enjoyable game.
Oh yeah. And Kaiser's was so like exotic that honestly I didn't remember it until I had to listen to the podcast again. But Kaiser's favorite is actually Mega Man in Bass, which is kind of a rarity. Was originally a Super Famicom game that got ported to the GBA later.
that game is difficult.
Oh yeah, I
Oh, it's
know.
definitely difficult. Sorry, I gotta clear my throat.
That game sucks the life out of you.
Okay.
It's just
And so that was Kaiser's favorite. My favorite, people may remember it either from the podcast or the fact that I did a Let's Play of it, is Mega Man 5. That's my personal favorite. So now that we've established that, Chris, what would you say is your favorite Mega Man game? Or if you can't name just one, you can name a couple.
It all depends, like, what you're looking at. Like, is it only consoles, or should it be arcades, too?
Well, you can go right ahead, whichever you like.
Like, at first, like, I thought that Mega Man 2 was, like, my favorite Mega Man game, but then I started discovering the arcade Mega Man games, the Mega Man Power Battle, and, like, the Mega Man, I forget the other, like, I don't know what the second one was, but, like, I felt like Power Battle was my favorite because I don't know, it just felt really fun to just destroy enemies with all those power-ups, and
Is Power Battle the one that's kind of like a fighting game?
yeah, kind of like a fighting game in a way. It's kind of like a fighting game, except like it's just if you removed all the stages in Mega Man and just fight the bosses, Though I don't know, like when it comes to me, like I do like fighting games a lot, but like I still do like platformers in every way. I'm not saying that Mega Man is a bad platformer, not at all. It definitely has so much great stuff in it. But then when I realize it's like it's more fun to beat the crap out of like all these robots. Like it
Yeah,
just
I don't know. That sounds intriguing. I do kind of personally prefer that there is the challenge of actually beating the level, building up to it. But I don't know. Kaiser, have you played that, or Ken?
I have not.
Indeed,
you
I have played. I've played those games, the power battles.
Oh yeah.
I played the arcade versions of 1 and 2. It's
I
yeah.
managed to play that game in like I think it was on this very website where you had to pay for arcade games. I don't know if it exists anymore. It's not. It's like I think it used to be called Game Tap. Does anyone remember that?
I remember Game Tap. They had a whole season of Space Ghost Coast to Coast on it.
Yeah, like Game
Interesting.
Tap. Game Tap like had these a lot of arcade games that you can play for free trial, or that you can just buy. And I was lucky enough to be part of the free trial and played the entire Mega Man arcade games. And after playing them, I'm just like, wow, these are like so fun, more fun than just Mega Man 2. But like the music quality definitely is not as good as Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2's music, like Mega Man's music, is pretty much one of the great things about the Mega Man games.
So what
It,
does it like play this? What kind of music is it in Power Battles? Is it like the stage themes, or is it like the combat theme that you usually have?
Well, usually it comes to like what you're looking for. Like for one thing, it does have that familiar tone, like dun 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 dun, dun like every time you select a boss and stuff.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the fighting, when you're fighting, it kind of is remixes, I think, to the old Mega Man games. Like maybe I'm not sure about it, but it's like remixes to the old Mega Man games, and somehow
Does Kaiser
also
remember at all?
like.
Kaiser, do you remember?
yeah, it was just remixed music of the original soundtrack. Like
But was it
if you fight
was it stage themes specifically?
yeah, it was stage theme
Ah,
based on the bosses you fight.
cool,
So
cool.
it's like it doesn't have the same feeling as actually fighting against them in like the NES games, but the music does have its own certain charms.
Yeah, like,
How is it different?
I can tell you that.
It's just sort of like different instruments, I should say. It's just got a different sound quality.
It
Like
has like that
Oh,
kind of soundtrack. Like if you've played arcades before, you would see that the soundtrack is different from like consoles of the old age.
yeah.
I thought what you meant is that fighting the robot masters isn't the same as in the game. Sorry, so I got
Oh no.
there. Sorry.
That's the same actually. No, that's
Okay, so
very
yeah,
much
sorry.
the same.
I got a little confused
Thing
about
that
it.
is definitely like one of the. I think the only bad thing about it is that when you get to the final boss, it's kind of tedious because you have to fight like these older bosses in the game, and then you fight the Dr. Wily, and Dr. Wily has like these many forms, and after you defeat the final form, you have to somehow defeat Dr. Wily while he's flying in the air, because you get like a bonus ending when you defeat him on the air, because if you don't catch him in time, like under like seconds, you don't get the good ending, you get the bad ending.
Yeah.
Wow.
That didn't really bother me because I played it on an arcade machine with unlimited credits, and I also played the sequel as well, which the sequel pretty much plays exactly like the first game, with just some minor like cosmetic differences.
Like,
Just looks more
yeah,
polished in the
Anyway,
second
which,
one.
which robot masters were in that?
I think an ice boss. Like, it's hard to remember Mega Man
Stone
bosses.
Man was Stone Man was in the second one.
I think there was
uh,
Presser Man or something.
the only robot master from the Mega Man 5 that didn't make the cartoon or didn't like make a physical appearance when me and Ken did the cartoon for the Aqualung video.
Right, he was stoned,
Oh.
man.
Yeah, Stone Man.
Because I think probably the reason why he was not in the cartoon, maybe he was stoned himself, and
Yeah, that was a joke. That was a joke. Like it was like an interrogation, but all Stone Man ever does is it lets out like this unintelligible grunt from another room. Like I was too. Yeah, I feel bad as an animator. I feel terrible that I did that cheap trick where I had them like say something, but they didn't actually show in the cartoon.
Well, I guess Stone Man was unavailable for filming that.
Yeah.
Another thing about the Mega Man Power Battle games is if I recall correctly, there's multiple options, like multiple paths you can take in that game, like fight bosses from 1 to 3,
Yeah,
4, 5, and 6.
that's true. I've actually taken some of those paths, these bonus paths where you can fight, like, I think different bosses or get power-ups, and they're fun, they're good, but then you can't fight the other bosses after you are done with it.
Do you get the master weapons the same way you did in the?
It all depends on where you're going to start first, because make sure that you start with the easiest boss first before you get the powerful power-ups, because the power-ups are very useful. Like, you can switch them while the game is paused. Like, that's one good thing. Like, you can switch the power-ups and pause the game at the same time, which is very good because,
I'm kind of curious because it sounds like a cool idea when you hear it, and then I started to think about, wait, how would that work? Like, what about like if you play like against a friend multiplayer?
I'm not sure. I've never really played it with 2 players. I've never played the game with 2 players because I haven't really, I don't think there is a physical copy of the game, and I don't even know if
No, there is. It got ported to PS2 in Japan, and it also got ported to the Neo Geo Pocket as well.
Ah, okay.
Geo Pocket. Friggin' console that nobody has.
The console that everyone should have because there's like this awesome game called Crush Roller that I really want.
Yeah, the Neo Geos, they're kind of a weird, like this weird chapter of video game history, like these really
Not as weird as the
powered
TurboGrafx
consoles
16.
that nobody owned.
I'm
Not
surprised
as
no one brought up. I'm surprised no one brought up the blasphemy of seeing a Capcom game on an SNK console.
What about the TurboGrafx 16?
Yeah, that is interesting. Well, that rivalry between them, like, I think eventually, like, it kind of got more where they were just kind of, there was never like a real rivalry going, and especially once SNK started doing badly, like all of a sudden you were seeing a lot of Capcom versus SNK titles. You gotta pay the rent, man.
It definitely lasts. Like the SNK Neo Geo definitely, and the Pocket lasted longer than the 3DO. I can give you that. It lasted way longer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so you would say that's your absolute favorite, Chris, then, as a Mega Man game?
Yeah, the Power Battle, like I can name a few games. Like, for one thing, the Power Battle is my favorite so far. Mega Man 2, and I kind of like the first Mega Man game in a way, though I do find it difficult. The reason why people just forget about it. And another one is Mega Man X. That's a game that I like, and I like the music for it. Though,
yeah, X is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like I like the music for it, but for some reason I can't beat it. Like I've literally tried my best to beat Mega Man X. Like
I mean, it is really difficult. Like that. How far have you gotten in it? Have you gotten to the final boss?
No, like I really went to a few bosses. Then I got to the Gopher boss, and the Gopher like this kind of mole Gopher.
You
like,
mean the Armadillo?
Armadillo, like
Yeah.
this armadillo, like just keeps rolling at my face, and I'm just like, get off, like I'm literally using my blaster and some of the power-ups, and like he just keeps coming on you every 2 seconds. The one moment that you feel like you're gonna take the hit, and then like boom, you're done for like a second.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I got stuck for a long while on the final boss, but eventually, and the final boss is a real grind. Yeah. Yeah, it's a real grind. Like you can't really.
I've heard some people say that the final boss is like not that hard once you get used to it.
Well, I mean, there's a predictable pattern, but you're gonna take like a lot of damage. Like for me at least, it's impossible without all the energy tanks.
There are some people who actually are insane enough that they don't take a hit or something. They never took a hit from that boss.
There's always somebody insane enough to not take a hit in something. It's like you see people doing Let's Plays of Resident Evil with just the knife.
Like, kind of like something like Ninja Gaiden. Like, has anyone ever played that one? Like, Ninja Gaiden on NES? No one?
I haven't.
Oh yeah. That's another one that's you're.
There actually are times where I've never gotten hit by one boss whatsoever. Like in my when I played it the first time, and the second time, like I didn't get hit once by any one of the bosses.
That's the thing about that Ninja Gaiden game. People make it out to be a lot harder than what it actually is.
Really? How so?
I never found it to be that hard to play through, actually. Sure, there's tricky spots, but I never found it to be, like, throw your control against the wall, set your console on fire, and do the there's no.
Wait a minute. Who did that game? It was Tecmo, wasn't it?
Tecmo, the same guys who did Tecmo Bowl.
For some reason, I always imagined that's a Konami game, but of course it's Tecmo because Ryo Hayabusa, he's in friggin' Dead or Alive, too.
It does sound like a game that Konami would do, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That's what I always think, but no, it's Tecmo, and yeah, I should put like 2 and 2 together because Ryo Hayabusa's in Dead or Alive.
I played a lot of Konami games, and they're really hard, though. I really thought to myself, yeah, this could be, but then there are also Bandai games. Bandai games, they're hard in a way as well. Like, if you've ever played something like Dick Tracy, then you know what hard it is.
Well, I think Dick Tracy's a terrible example, but okay, yeah.
Well, that's yeah. There's a difference between being difficult due to poor design as opposed to just being challenging.
Yeah.
Like Contra is just a plain challenging game, but never feels cheap.
Tiny Toons Adventure.
Not that often, anyway.
All right.
It's also another hard one too. Yeah, that I have that, and I can't even get through the 3rd level.
Okay, but we seem to have drifted off a little bit, so let's get back and okay, this topic's a little bit more for we're gonna get through it I think pretty quickly, but since the last podcast that we made 2 years ago, I wanted to ask, like, are there new Mega Man games that Kaiser and Ken have you played any new ones that you hadn't previously played during that time? Because I have at least one that I do want to discuss. What about Kaiser?
Well, the one new game that I played recently, I'll get to in a second, but I've recently gotten the Mega Man Legacy Collection, where I've refreshed, my mind with the original 6 games.
Yep.
And, well, I just feel like a child again while playing those. They're just so damn good.
Oh, yeah.
The original 6.
Yep.
Yep. And I don't really need to explain what they're about.
6, by the way, recently also got its release on the Wii U. Well, I say recently, but this year on the Wii U Virtual Console, which is a big deal over here in Europe because it wasn't originally released in Europe.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It skipped the PAL release completely back in the NES days. So yeah, and I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good underrated Mega Man game personally. Well, I like all the NES Mega Man games, so that's the reason. Yeah.
Well, this one's not really an official game. This is just sort of some ROM hack that I played, and this is probably a bit of a stretch, counting it. But I like to play Sonic the Hedgehog ROM hacks, and this latest ROM hack was called it's not latest, it's pretty old, but it's a ROM hack called Mega Man in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
So where they had the Mega Man sprite in Sonic the Hedgehog, and I was like, this sounds awesome, just running around, blasting at all of Robotnik's minions and Robotnik. But then I was also like, but then again, how would he run through the loops? How would he do that?
So had they changed the game at all, or was it literally just a palette swap?
It was. It wasn't just a palette swap. They actually put in the Mega Man controls and whatnot. Except it sounds awesome until you actually play it, to where the shooting mechanics incredibly. Sorry, had a bit of a tongue twister there. The shooting mechanics are incredibly buggy. They managed walking around a level is okay, not the best. He's hilarious when he's going through the loops because he's just set his idle standing animation, just going through the loop so it's just weird.
Wow. Okay.
The game's just very badly programmed because when you actually get to the chemical waste zone, when you fall into the water, that's
chemical
when
plant zone.
Yeah, chemical plant zone.
Only the best Sonic level ever.
Yeah, when you get to the chemical plant zone, when you actually go into the water, that's when the game starts flashing all these colors due to bad programming. All the colors go weird, and it looks like it's straight out of just a badly designed game. It becomes pretty much unplayable.
Okay.
I don't recommend it.
All right.
It's not very fun.
Okay. So any others, or was that it?
Oh, sorry, I had myself on mute. No, that's pretty much it. Just the classic games and that horrible monstrosity.
Okay. What about Ken? Have you played any new ones since we did the last podcast?
Well, while it's not a brand new, I mean, I had played it before, but not all the way through. Was Mega Man X relatively recently?
Oh yeah,
About,
yeah, yeah. And you did a video of that too.
yeah, and that was the and yeah,
Because
that was the first time through it was for the video.
so am I remembering incorrectly? But you kind of missed the boat on the X games.
Right, mainly because I had a Genesis growing up or a Mega Drive.
Yeah.
You played the Wily Wars?
That's actually the other one that was the more recent one that I hadn't played yet was the Wily Wars, which was the Mega Drive remakes of Mega Man's 1 through 3.
Yeah.
I haven't tried those yet. I heard that it's not that great compared to the actual original NES games, which is understandable because the Genesis didn't have its very well done sound set.
I disagree. I think that's an awesome collection of those games. But Ken, so you played those just recently, or
The Wily Wars, yes, that was pretty recently. And it was a ROM, so maybe maybe it was a fault of the ROM, but I found it to be a little slow.
oh yeah, that's if you have it on like PAL setting. You have to check if it's on NTSC, and then it runs pretty much equal speed to the original.
But I did like one thing I did find to be an advantage over some of the other 16-bit Mega Mans was the sprite size of Mega Man. I think he's a little too big in Mega Man 7. And,
yeah, because it's
X
much
is
closer
fine.
to the way it was on the NES, basically.
Yeah, they scaled it down a little bit to match it up, and I think that it, I mean, I mean, 7 was a well-designed game, but I think that would, I think that Mega Man is meant to be that small.
Yeah, it definitely like immediately like makes you a bigger target when you're that size. But I don't know. I'm never, to be honest. Like they also like came out with Mega Man 7 on the Virtual Console, and I was when I was playing it again, I was just so happy that I was playing Mega Man 7 again. Like I didn't really think about like as a sprite size a bit big. But yeah,
Does your childhood come back? Does it come back?
I didn't play it as a child per se. I did play it on an emulator back in the early 2000s, but I liked it. I played it all the way through. I mean, I liked it so that much. But it's like But yeah, Wily Wars. That is, I think, like an unfortunately overlooked Mega Man title because it was a second.
In a way, I'm not saying that I hate the game. I just been hearing not that many good reception out of it. Though there was a guy who did a positive review about it. His name is the Gaming Hysterian. He did this whole video on the Mega Man Wily Wars and its history, and I think it's very interesting if you want to know more about it.
Yeah. I think I've seen that video. So Wily Wars, and the reason a lot of people might not know about that is because it was a Sega Channel game, so it didn't actually have like a physical cartridge release in Japan.
I think it was released in Europe or Japan. I think.
No, just in Europe because Europe didn't have the Sega Channel, so that's the only reason.
It did come out in Japan, honey. There's a cartridge version of it in Japan.
Yeah, it did.
But then later.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I thought because the Sega Channel was a thing also in Japan, but okay, cool.
Later, people
The
were
more you know.
enough to just put it like there's a lot of reproduction carts nowadays, so someone like literally made a full American version of the Wily Wars, and it's
Nice.
good that we have one, but it's kind of also kind of hard in a way because it's not a real thing. It's like kind of illegal, like in a way when you're playing the Wily Wars because it's not the actual cart that came out in America, and it is a shame in a way.
That's one of the reasons I really would want that. Want that to have an official like at least like a virtual distribution thing, and also people often complain about the Sega Mega Drives or the Sega Genesis's like sound chip, but I think they used it really well there. I think those musical remixes on that are really nice. And once you do beat the three, all three Mega Man games, of course, then you get to the Wily Tower. And that has one of my favorite features of all time, which I think I talked about in the previous podcast, which is the fact that you get to choose. You get to choose your own selection of master weapons from the first three Mega Man games, which
Awesome.
it is just an awesome feature, yeah.
Yeah, like for me, think I'll get to the Wily Wars eventually. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably like
for
free.
all intents and purposes, it's really it is like the Super Mario All Stars treatment for the first three Mega Man games, and then it has its own like its own original levels as well. So that's
Mario
what makes
All
it so.
Stars. For some reason, I'm a classic guy. So when it comes to like playing games with All Star Pack, I can play it sometimes. It's just because maybe I'm just not used to the remixes. I'll always go back to the original games, but I do have to say the remixes for the All Star Pack is still like good enough for me.
Well,
at
they're
least.
really good. They're really good. That's why I make that's the reason I made that comparison. But yeah. Any other?
Sorry,
Yep.
sorry. Speaking of Mega Man Wily Wars, I was very lucky enough to get an original cartridge version of that game for $15 back near 10 years.
Sweet.
Like yeah.
Awesome.
Which is amazing to get that game for like $15 just cartridge alone, because that game can be worth a whole ton of money.
Did you get it from a pawn shop?
Did you get it from a professional retro store? Because we have these retro stores here. It's either this store with that store. Just don't go crazy for it.
Is that an Irish accent?
Yeah.
Which island do you think Retro Kaiser lives on?
I'm sorry. I was actually trying to do Mario.
Yeah, and that pawn shop reference, I got a little confused on the first podcast when we did that.
Yes, the pawn shop where I found Castlevania, the new generation, aka
I was doing
Bloodlines.
Mario. I was trying to do
$5.
Mario, but like I say, my Mario voice is cracking up. Like I said,
Okay.
in
All
the
right.
future. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I wasn't
So
going to talk about
you've actually gotten the real Sega experience with that.
Yes, I did.
Sweet. Was there more to that story, or was that it?
There really wasn't much more, but I can add on to it in a sense of my experience with that game. Like, my original time I played that was actually on the Sega Dreamcast, because I know
What?
this sounds weird. Yes, I actually first played that game on the Sega Dreamcast because the Dreamcast is incredibly easy to pirate games, and there's also a lot of homebrew games for it where like people made their own like emulators for it, so you can play like Genesis games or Mega Drive
Why
games.
buy the CDs when you can easily just get burn the CDs for any Dreamcast games? That's what probably like so many people do nowadays, unless you're like a hardcore game collector.
Yep.
Well, it's not necessarily pirating the Sega Dreamcast games, or not the easy to find ones at least. No, because Sega Dreamcast with that feature, it's incredibly easy to make your own homebrew games for the system, but that's another topic for another episode, my friend.
Yep.
But no, I played it, and I was stupid. When I actually first played it, I kept on calling it the Wily Wars, because I thought it was Dr. Willy.
Willy, let's free Willy. Willy.
Yeah.
I know that you're of that way.
You mean like the typo at the start of Mega Man 7, or where the heck did that come from?
It's just I didn't see there was only one L. I thought there was two L's.
The Willy.
And of course, Willy is a term down here for penis. So I just
it's a term in a lot of places for penis, but
Pretty
I
much
think
everywhere.
it's neither here nor there.
Better not be here nor there.
Ah, shit. Okay. All right. But so you played a pirated version of Wily Wars, is what you're trying to say?
Yep. Then years later, I played the legitimate version of it.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
What about Ken? Was that all the new ones that you've played since the previous podcast?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And I don't have a lot to add to this. I just recently played it just because it did come out on the Wii U's Virtual Console, because they do. I have a few pet peeves with the Wii U version of the Virtual Console. Mainly that it's all Nintendo systems now and not the other retro systems.
Why do people hate the Wii U now? Like, why?
Well, no, that's just a pet peeve of mine that it's only. But like, luckily, there's some really cool stuff coming out there right now.
Wii U...
For a while now, they've been doing like Game Boy Advance and DS games.
Okay, literally, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong if, like, when it comes to fun games, like, what more fun games do you have for a console? The Wii U or the PS4, Xbox One? Literally just put out your words. What do you think has the most fun library of games?
Well, I can't really say anything about the Xbox One and PS4 because I don't have those. But anyway, like what I was getting at is that recently I mean, Capcom. I think we discussed in the previous podcast that Capcom seems to always manage to screw the Europeans over, us over when it comes to all kind of Mega Man stuff. So
As well as the
they're
American
slowly kind of
mans.
making it up for us with Mega Man X6 getting that release, Mega Man 7 also on the Virtual Console. Although that's just a global.
I've heard that the X
that's
series kind of went downhill after 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 or something.
okay.
Like,
Yeah. But so recently, fairly recently, they came out on the Virtual Console with the Game Boy Advance port of Mega Man and Bass, or Rockman and Forte as it was called in the original version. And so I've been playing that, and yeah, as Chris previously mentioned, that's a really, really hard game. But I've had a lot of fun with it, and it's really
fun.
cool.
Yeah,
it's a really cool
I
game.
can highly
honestly.
agree it's fun.
Yeah, and the one big criticism that I could maybe make about that game is the fact that, okay, the outstanding feature of that game is the fact that you get to choose whether you play as Mega Man or Bass, but the game is clearly like designed for Bass, so so it's just a lot. At least up to a point, it's really easy.
Bad game design at its finest.
Yeah, when you play it as Bass, it's a lot easier, and then when you try to play the levels as Mega Man, it's like furiously difficult.
Yeah.
Up to a point. Like I've noticed that there's a certain boss fight towards the end of the game that I'm having serious difficulty with Bass beating, and so I want to try to get to that point as Mega Man at some point. It's an interesting game because it was for the Super Famicom, which is of course the original Japanese version of the Super Nintendo, but it uses a lot of the art assets from Mega Man 8, including like all the sprites for Mega Man and Bass, which is kind of interesting, and I kind of like, especially like the dopey jump animation that Mega Man has in that game. It's really
The
adorable.
reason why I
With
noticed
Mega
that
Man
too.
8, I mean, it was a good game, but obviously, I don't think the anime cutscenes need to be explained, even for the English or Japanese dubs.
Or the voice, yes, the voice acting.
Well, that's another funny thing. Like Mega Man
And
8
they
is
call him Bass. They call him Bass in America.
yeah. Okay. But anyway, the thing is like what was interesting is that I've actually now played, because Mega Man and Bass. This is something we talked about previously with Kaiser as well. Is that's a pretty rare game actually, both in
And that was another game I was lucky to find in a pawn shop for $15.
It's
yeah.
not worth it. It's not worth it. I say if you
Okay.
just want to play Mega Man and Bass, you just play it online, emulate it, whatever, because
Okay.
it's a fun game. But there's no way no person in the world would sacrifice like 10 to 20 hours
Well,
of
you
just
can-
trying to beat that game.
Well, you can also get it on the Wii U's Virtual Console, which is, I think, personally, really worth getting it because you also get the controller, which is, pretty ideal for it. But the thing I was getting at is that I've now actually played Mega Man Bass, which previously one of the rarest and most sought-after games of the whole franchise because it's kind of obscure, and I have yet to have played Mega Man 8. Which is the only one of the classic Mega Man games that I have played. I played from 1 up to 7, and then 9 and 10, but still I have not actually played 8. And I still that still kind of bugs me, honestly, like that I have not experienced that game for myself.
I
With Mega Man Bass, did you say it was the Game Boy Advance version ported to the Wii U?
Yes, it was.
They ported the wrong version, man. Like the Game Boy Advance one is decent, but I still prefer the Super Famicom version over the
Well, I think
Game Boy
with
Advance
that,
version.
with that, I think there would have been a whole thing that they would have had to have localized it, and they are a bit lazy about that. So, I mean, the only thing that bugs me about it is that isn't it true that the GBA version is lower resolution?
Yeah, it is. It's
Yes.
a lot more
The only
resolution
problem that I
version.
saw with that was some of the stages, the
little raising
ground is
hand
really
here.
like close to the bottom of the screen, and so
Mr. Hanu?
it's really paper thin. So it's kind of hard to see.
Hanu?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt everything. I do highly apologize, but it's somehow my time to go now. I kind of have to do like business, kind of like a little late thing. Sorry about that. It's kind of a family thing.
Okay.
But like, thank you for letting me be part of your podcast. And
All right.
yeah, thank you
okay.
for so much.
It was still
I'll be
fun having
signing off
you.
in a much professional way. So yeah, BlackBeltDragon signing out. And
Okay.
remember, when you mess with this dragon, you'll feel the burn.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Bye,
Hey.
Chris.
bye, bye.
We're down to the originals.
Well, down to the originals now. Oh boy. Well, anyway, let's keep on getting on. I mean, I still got a lot of stuff because that's the thing that always bugged me about the first podcast, and the reason I kind of wanted us to party like it's 2013. Kaiser, don't do stuff like that. I'm gonna seriously lose my mind because it's so late. But
Sorry.
no, I'm kidding. But anyway, let's keep on getting on then. Next topic on my list is Mighty Number 9, which I assume both of you have heard of.
Oh yes, I have an interesting story about that.
Ken too, haven't you? Ken?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Had the cough button on, didn't you?
Yeah, I fucked that up.
Okay. But yeah, Mighty Number 9, which of course is the game that the creator of Mega Man, or at least he himself doesn't actually consider himself the creator of Mega Man, Keiji Inafune, which most people do associate him, because apparently this is something I found out recently. He actually came on the Mega Man project pretty late, and so it was already started before he got on there. So he gets kind of wrongly attributed as being the creator, but I guess he's the how should I say, the spiritual creator of Mega Man.
Yeah, I guess if you had to pin it on one person,
Yeah, it's kind of like saying Yuji Naka created Sonic when there are actually other people who are just as responsible. I mean, he did the lion's share of the work on that. But anyway, we're drifting off topic. Anyway, he left Capcom quite a while ago, and he's been working on this crowdfunded project, which is called Mighty Number 9, which is supposed to be the spiritual successor to Mega Man. And, okay, so I wanted to ask people's opinion about people's thoughts on it. Kaiser, you said you had a story, so you've titillated my interest. Please go on.
Yeah. My story with it is when I actually announced the game for the Steam version of Steam PC release, or actually when I put it up for pre-order, I jumped on that bandwagon right away. Like, I pre-ordered the game because this was back in the day before it got pushed back all the way to next year. Because it's been pushed back a whole lot. Like, it was originally meant to come out in, was it August of this year? Originally, or something like that? And
yeah.
I pre-ordered it before then. I was like, ooh, I get to play it in a week. It gets delayed a few months. It's like, okay, I'm going to be patient enough. Got delayed again. It's like, okay. Then it got delayed to next year. Then I was just like, screw it. And just of yesterday, actually, I actually got a refund for my pre-order for the game. And I'm not going...
Well, I hope you have learned your lesson. Never.
Yeah, it wasn't just...
anything.
Yep. And it wasn't just that. It's like, if you pre-ordered the game, they promised to give you, like, special demos, to which a lot of people did, but they never gave me a special demo for some reason. I contacted support and whatnot, to little to no response, and that just adds to the frustration of all these people playing, like, the special demo, making all these Let's Play videos of it, and me just sitting in here in the rain, just waiting to be let in. Let me in. No. And that just added to the frustration. I'm not bashing the game in any sense, because it's not out yet. I'm just saying all the delay is just very, very frustrating.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole thing that I think about crowdfunded projects that people still don't get. I mean, it's cool when you get all that money together to say, like, oh man, we're going to make this game, we're actually going to be able to make this game. But then people don't realize that then they have to actually go and make the game. And that might actually take a while. So I think people have this instant gratification illusion when it comes to crowdfunding, that just because you throw a bunch of money at something, it's gonna like magically materialize. And no, people actually have to make it. They're gonna actually make a 9 to 5 schedule, 5 days a week. They're gonna work on it, and they're gonna get paid, and that's what that money goes to. Is you're paying people to make the game. So. And then it's going to take a while, especially if you have a small team or something. Like, sorry if I get a little heated about this, but actually Ron Gilbert, whom people may know as the creator of Monkey Island, he's working on one of these crowdfunded projects, and he made a really good blog about like how people need to like get a grip when it gets to like not just people who fund the project, but then people who are making them, like how they need to get a grip, like. Don't like overestimate like what you can do with the money. Like if anything, you should know your limits and all that stuff. So yeah. And how long has this project actually been going on? Like I think I lost track at some point.
I've lost track too, man.
Okay then. But are you still looking forward to it, though?
Oh, definitely. I do look forward to it, but but when the game actually comes out, that's when I'm actually going to buy it. And it's like
Yeah.
it's just like the pre-order edition did come with a bonus, although not a very good one. It's like some sort of DLC costume pack that sort of makes you look like Steve from Minecraft or the Minecraft guy.
Huh.
Uh,
You mean like a t-shirt and a pair of shorts?
And a big box head.
A box head. I'm thinking if this is supposed to be like a throwback to the classic street clothes Mega Man from the first game.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think Keiji Inafune was also working on, or was working towards like a spiritual successor for Mega Man Legends, but I think that crowdfunding project didn't quite pan out, or if it is, or if it, or if something, it might have taken on a different form. But so Ken, what about you? What are your thoughts on Mighty Number 9? I was about to call it Mega Man 9.
Excuse me, sorry, I had a bit of a coughing fit, almost.
Okay.
I don't know. I actually haven't really done any research on it or anything. I'm very much out of the loop with it. So
Yeah. Well, Kaiser,
yeah. I mean,
Kaiser can probably tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, and you know what? That would be good for anybody else who has no idea what.
So it's gonna be. Is it gonna be like mechanically like the original Mega Man games, where you have a level selection screen? I mean, I know it's like 2D or 2.5D at least, but what about anything else, Kaiser?
I'm not really sure. I was just going by the screenshots and the trailers. It just looks like they're just trying to be straight up classic Mega Man. Like, I didn't watch any of the other people playing, like the special demo video. Only because I was so bitter that I didn't get mine.
Okay.
Well, I would hope that that there's enough originality to it, like that it's not just like another, big callback like Mega Man 9 and 10, where as much as I love those games and everything, it's like, if you'd like to see, you'd like to see an evolution of some kind.
I mean, I think with those games, I mean, Inafune didn't have much to do with those because those were actually made by Inti Creates.
Yeah, they were the development team, but I mean, he was involved.
Yeah. But the point is, like, I get the feeling like some of those creative decisions that they made, like having just the Mega Man 2 controls, might have been like something that they did out of an obligation that they felt because fans were saying like, oh, Mega Man 2 is the best game ever, so okay, so we gotta make it like Mega Man 2. And
Right.
somebody like me who does like using the slide and the super shots and everything, that kind of pissed me off a bit. Not saying like
Yeah,
I
I
like
like
Mega Man.
using
I
it.
still liked Mega Man 9 a lot. I think I actually liked it a lot. I did not care for Mega Man 10 as much.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons also is just the fact that 9 was, like the first classic, quote unquote, classic Mega Man game since, it was like, what, 15 years, something like that. So, not including 7 and 8, like the first 8-bit Mega Man game.
Yeah.
So, after only, like, what, 2 years later, 10 came out. So, there wasn't as much, bite behind the hype.
I mean, Capcom did what Capcom does best, is like start milking a good thing.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
That's true.
But then again, you know what? It's like it would have been a little odd if they didn't end it with 10, because after 9 it's like, well, why not have a fresh round number to top it all off? It'd be like if they, as George Carlin said, if they had called it the 11 Commandments, nobody would have taken it seriously in the first place.
That's an interesting viewpoint. I just felt like they were just completely out of ideas with 10. That's the reason I didn't. That's one of the many reasons I didn't really care that much for that.
They've been low on ideas for a while, but
Yeah,
Oops.
yeah. Not to mention, having a Mega Man 10 would certainly confuse the people that played Mega Man X, with X being
Well,
the
not-
Roman numeral for 10.
I don't think like that much. I mean, that confusion might have happened like back when the first Mega Man X came out, and before people understood that they were like two different series. But like these days, I don't. And also, if you say Mega Man X, I mean, you don't find people who say Grand Theft Auto V, do you? I mean, I might as well. There probably are people who don't realize that it's a number.
Oh yeah, there are people. Those are the people that try too hard to be posh and sophisticated.
That's a V.
Well, the big confusion there, though, was the fact that it looked kind of like a Roman numeral 10, and we were, going into number 7. So that was, if there was Grand Theft Auto X came out at this point, then, what would you make of that?
Only dream. Grand Theft Auto X.
Grand Theft Auto in the year 3100 or something.
The first thing that comes to mind when you put X after Grand Theft Auto, like it's somehow like the raunchier version of the game. Like, how would you even do that?
You mean like the old hot coffee mod from back in the day?
Probably. It would have to be something like that. Oh boy. Well, all I know about Mighty Number 9 is that it's probably coming out next year. It's going to be on the Wii U, right? I mean, it's been confirmed for all the consoles, and now they're kind of like they've been adding like one system after the other ever since that they announced it, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, we're here.
I'm expecting confirmation from somebody. Yeah. So when it does come out, yeah. So when it does come out, like I'm definitely excited for it, and I do want to get to play it. It's just that I'm just curious, like if it's going to have that mechanic of selecting bosses, getting their weapons, and then using that, or if it's going to be built around something else, because that would also be interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see a different take on it. You know what game I want to see happen, and going back to what you were talking about, you mentioned Mario Maker earlier. I'd like to see Mega Man Maker.
Oh yeah.
and it's like not just my I mean, I love Mega Man, of course. So it's that would have been my first choice for any game creation software. But just the fact that if they were to give you the ability to design your own robot masters, design your own weapons, and set parameters for how much damage each weapon would be would do on an enemy or a given boss, would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that might be a little tricky.
I hate to say this, but Mega Man Series hasn't exactly got that. It sort of came close back about 10 years ago. Mega Man Powered Up, which is like some chibi remake of the first game, actually has a level editor to where you can make your own Mega Man levels.
Yeah, that was on the PSP, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And then there was Mega Man Universe, which was supposed to come out that would have something similar to that.
Oh yeah. That was the big. Then it got lost in the Mega Man Purge of 2010.
Along with Legends 3.
Yeah. Legends 3, Mega Man Universe, and what was the other one? They were working on something else.
Not sure what the other one was. I know those are the two that I was disappointed in, and I don't know what else it was.
Oh man, yeah, that was just bad time for Mega Man fans in general. Like for ones, not just the Europeans. Like what I said about like Capcom making up for all the dick moves, like not releasing Mega Man Anniversary Collection in Europe, and those like slowly making up for that with these downloadable releases. Like that still sadly has not happened for the PlayStation side of things. Like they just recently, like this year, I think they came out with like all the PlayStation Mega Man games, like the first PlayStation 1 Mega Man games in North America and in Japan, but of course not in Europe.
Yeah, Leopard never changes its spots. Capcom
Yeah.
still a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, that just bites because my friend Ville, he has PlayStation, and so I was thinking like, oh shit, here's my window, here's my chance to finally play like not just Mega Man 8, but like X4, X5, X6, because those are also games that I still would want to play like really badly. Or play Legends, the emulated version of the Nintendo 64 version. I still liked it very much, but it would be cool to play like the original too. But no, sadly not.
Right.
Yeah. That just bites. Okay. Well, we don't have a whole lot to say about Mighty Number 9. Again, I was about to say Mega Man 9 again. It is very, in case you can't tell from this,
You're a little punchy.
listeners, it is a bit late. So sadly, like, not much we can say about Mighty Number 9. So let's move on to my next topic, which is actually favorite Mega Man soundtracks. Because this is something I would have wanted to have talked about in our very first podcast, but we never got around to it. And Ken, as a musical man, well, not to take anything away from Kaiser, he's a music aficionado as well. But What would you say are some of the best Mega Man soundtracks? I might actually just chime in halfway through somewhere, but yep.
Well, two, of course. That's the one that everybody points to.
I mean, two. The great thing about two, I think, is there isn't a theme in that game that isn't iconic.
They're all really good, yeah, and there's a lot of. It seemed like toward the end of the classic series, the riffs got really simple. It was just kind of like it seemed like it was kind of a phoned in, not phoned in, but they just weren't as intricate as the as Mega Man 2's. It seemed like there was almost solos in there, like Airman's stage, for example. It has like
Yeah.
that really like snappy ass guitar. It almost sounds like it was written to be on guitar. Like that was what it was meant for.
Yeah, that's really cool. And also, like, what the piece of music that always like still blows my mind when I listen to it is like the first two Dr. Wily stages. That theme, like, it has like levels to it, and you really don't hear that in a lot of NES games.
There aren't a lot with multiple sections like that. And it was a big leap from Mega Man 1's soundtrack, which was very, very basic. There wasn't a lot of parts to them.
Yeah.
It was almost like a lot of like 3 or 4 note tunes.
Which
And the production value was a lot
to be
better.
fair, I do think Mega Man 1's soundtrack is still really good. It's a lot more like, how would I say it? It's a little bit. Is this fair to say? It's a little poppy or something like, you know what I mean? It's a bit cheery and cartoony, and then like the second game, they're bringing in slightly more, rock, almost like rock elements.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Yeah. So it got a whole lot more intricate. I do think. I think the only theme from Mega Man 2, which I wasn't really a fan of, might have been the menu theme from the start, where
It's just like a big loop. It was kind of like just a thrown together thing. But it's only the menu. It's like it barely.
Yeah, you barely hear it at all in the game, so it says it. But they recycled it for Mega Man 9 and 10.
Yeah, there was that. It would have been nice to see more, more original music in 9. I mean, it was all the stages were, of course, original, and the opening.
Well, 9's soundtrack was still really solid. Like, I still.
9's soundtrack was really good. Yeah.
It was really good. 10's was not.
Disappointing as shit. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
It might have been. You know what? I'd even say it was. That was probably it's like apples and oranges when you start comparing it to the 7 and 8, because it's just the whole different it's all different hardware. But have you ever heard there are these 8-bit renditions of of 7 and 8 soundtracks?
I may have heard some, like, not a whole lot, but I have heard some.
That's probably the best way to really have a to be able to compare the soundtracks to each other, because that they are so different in hardware and everything. But I mean, I would say that 10's probably among the worst of all of them.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't played 8. And that's the thing, like, you get a whole different appreciation for the music when you actually play the games. That's one of the reasons because I know for a fact that Mega Man X5 and X6, if you just listen to individually the themes to those games, they sound excellent. But I'm wondering, like, if when I'm playing the game...
Was that a pun? Was that a pun? You say excellent? It sounded like you put an emphasis on the X there.
No.
I could not ignore that.
No, definitely not. I was not trying to do that. Oh God, but but like, even with that in mind, I've listened to Mega Man 8's soundtrack a little bit, just off, and one thing that I did like, surprisingly, is the stage select theme. But the rest of it sounds a little bit like elevator music to me.
There's a lot of it. Aquaman's theme in particular is very easy listening.
Oh yeah, we use that as the background music for the cartoon. For that reason. Which is for that cartoon, it works perfectly, actually. More than adequately. Oh, boy.
But yeah, there was. I mean, it was like like the Clown Man's had like it was like too carnival-y, and I like carnival music to an extent, but it's like that one was it was. That was not a big. It was almost like everything was a subgenre of pop, and then whatever sound they were trying to go for with it.
Yeah. and it's well, actually, we're on the complete opposite side. There's a bit of a difference with that soundtrack between the Saturn and the PlayStation version, and the difference being Tengu Man's.
Tango Man's, yeah, and I actually
Yes.
and people will point to the Saturn version of Tango Man as being vastly superior, but I do think that that's even on the PS1 versions, that's like one of the standout tracks. I do like the PS1 and Swordman too. That's a really good one. But other than that, the
I
rest
don't
of
quite
it,
remember Swordman, but yeah, that's weird. Like, because I'm definitely with most people on just I just think the Saturn version of Tengu Man's theme sounds very energetic. And there's another because Tengu Man comes back in Mega Man Base, so there's three. He might be the only Robot Master, or I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's the only Robot Master that has three completely different stage themes. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who else has more than one?
Well, the Mega Man 2, of course, and the Game Boy is an exception that they made completely original stage themes for those robot for that one game in the Game Boy series
All
where they
right,
had
yeah, there you go. That's fair enough. Yeah,
but it's still like it's very rare for them to have like first of all the Robot Masters coming back and then for them to have completely original theme songs because they're kind of milking the nostalgia factor from the original game as
yeah.
much as possible. But yeah, we kind of come back to it that 2 is kind of a definitely up there. What about Mega
Yeah.
Man X, the first one?
That's definitely really good. That one is among the I liked it a lot more than Mega Man 7, which is kind of like its Super Nintendo counterpart.
Yeah, well, they're both on
That
Super
yeah,
Nintendo.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like I would
On the other series, you
I
mean,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
not only the music but the game itself. Like I think the X was a better fit and was kind of it was a better fit for the console in that era than continuing the classic series. To be honest, as much as I enjoyed 7, I just think that
Well,
it was
I think Seven's soundtrack is really good. Like it's definitely more cartoony, but I think they still made it work really well. But X is definitely in a league of its own. Like I would say X's soundtrack is better than Mega Man 2's, actually. Because again, like I can't honestly think of a single song of that soundtrack that I didn't like. Like maybe Sting Chameleons wasn't that great, but there's not a single bad piece of music in that game. Whereas actually on the X2 soundtrack is quite a bit less dramatic in my opinion. Kaiser, what about you? Do you have something to contribute to this
Oh,
conversation?
my answers are pretty boring and probably a bit controversial too. To me, most of the Mega Man soundtracks never really stuck with me. Like I'd
Well,
recognize, like I recognize them when I hear them. It's just, I'm not saying they're bad soundtracks. That's far from the case. It's just because I play so many damn games, I tend to lose some information from my mind, and some of the Mega Man soundtracks leave my mind. Except for the soundtrack for Mega Man 2. That one will forever be embroidered into my mind.
wow, good cover for the fact that it's just Mega Man 2.
Yeah, but other songs that somewhat stick in my mind is oddly enough, one of the themes from Mega Man 7, only because it's a remix version of the Ghouls and Ghosts soundtrack.
Oh yeah, the
and I
alternate.
know yeah, and it was a hidden song too. You had to
Yeah, it was.
yeah. I don't remember the for the life of me it escapes me how you access it, but I know it involves I know you get it in
You
Shademan's
hold
theme.
some button during
You hold
the
some
stage
button
selection.
combination, yeah, which is kind of a shame because Shademan is probably the best song in the of
Oh yeah,
all the
yeah.
stages, and the only way you can get to that is to not listen to it. The only way you could listen to the
Yeah.
to that hidden track
I
is to forego that.
I really have a soft spot for Freeze Man's theme in that game. Even though it sounds like so Christmassy, like it could have come from like a Christmas video game, basically. But I
Well,
just love,
it was a good fit
yeah,
for Freeze Man.
yeah, definitely.
And
And
yeah,
Uh,
it is poppy. It is like it is like a poppy riff, but it is very catchy. It's
I
a
mean,
true.
general criticism that I hear for Mega Man 7's soundtrack is that it had a very kind of light, bubbly sound, and not just the music, but also the sound effects. So it was kind of that might like, especially if you're used to the sound of Mega Man X, which is a lot more deep, and with a few exceptions of maybe like loading the X Buster, something like that. But it's just like a much more higher register theme-wise. So that might like turn some people off.
Well,
Any
then-
thoughts on the Mega Man X3 soundtrack? I feel like I have to bring it up almost at any turn, at any chance I get.
That's another soundtrack that I actually remember more than most others, and yeah, that was a very great one, a very rocking soundtrack. That one.
It's a little rough. Like the guitar samples are a little rough, and I will say that few of the themes don't sound that hot. But on the general level, that was like the most hard rocking sound of the Mega Man soundtrack that had come out to that point, and I really loved it.
I would like to hear that on the a Genesis translation, because you know how
There are actually quite a few of those. There's this one YouTube channel that I know that almost specializes almost exclusively on turning SNES soundtracks into Genesis, and I've heard a good bunch of those. A good bunch of those sound excellent.
Yeah, because you know how the Genesis guitar and that cheap MIDI sounding guitar that is very iconic in the on a lot of Genesis games.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting to hear. But maybe it's on there. Maybe like you said, if that channel is.
I think the theme to really listen to, I think, would be Blast Hornet, because it has like a really that and Gravity Beetle. The bugs, basically. So because those had really extensive guitar works, and actually, like Gravity Beetle, that is a fucking awesome. I would say that is on the level of epicness that rivals Guile's theme from Street Fighter 2. That is a fucking awesome track. Yeah. The only one, and there's one I kind of enjoy, even though it sounds a little dopey. It breaks away a little bit from the rock theme in general that's going on in Mega Man X3, but Blizzard Buffalo's theme has this weird kind of. It's not quite a march. It's the only one that's almost tries to be a little bit like an instrumental. Kaiser, you know what I'm talking about. The Blizzard Buffalo theme. It has that weird do dee do dee dee do dee that theme.
Ah, that theme.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. It sounds a bit dopey, but honestly, that's the reason I like it. It's dopey, but it's also like also because it's very low. It's like how would I say it? It's almost like a little melancholy. Well, maybe it's just the Finn in me because it's an ice level too. So.
Well, that's a nice departure too from a lot of the more upbeat Mega Man.
That's the thing. Like Gravity Beetle's upbeat, but it's more energetic. Like every theme has like a really crunchy edge to it. That's the best way I can describe it with that theme song. But it also does cause that a few of that faster, like in between parts necessarily don't sound as good. Because I think they actually did put like a special chip or something in the cartridge to make the music sound the way it does. But I'm not sure. Maybe I'm making that up. But I feel like I've heard that somewhere. Yeah. Also, I kind of like the soundtrack for Mega Man Legends, even though it isn't like super. It's not like the themes themselves are super memorable, but it has a lot of like really creepy ambience music, especially when you go down into the mines.
Right. I was just gonna say that's like where there's a couple in particular. I can't identify which specific tunnels have the standout ones, and they're kind of just they're not riff oriented. They're just like they're ambient tracks, but they're really cool. But I think that the one song that stands out the most to me out of that one is when you go into the main gate, the final trek.
Ooh. I was just recently, and actually a couple of months ago, but I was replaying Mega Man Legends a bit, and I got to the main gate, but I didn't enter, so now now I don't have the theme specifically freshly in my mind. And then there's like really funny cartoony bits, like whenever the bonds are in a cutscene, like that theme, just the whole wow 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 that whole weird theme. That just brings a smile to my face. I really like that.
You ever play Misadventures of Tron?
No, that's the thing, because I never had a PlayStation.
You've only played the 64, Mega Man 64, that's right.
Yeah, I played the 64.
I've played Misadventures of Tron. I nearly said John Tron, but that's a different thing. Tron.
No fucking Trons in here.
Yeah, I played Tron, but the problem is I had it used on PlayStation 1, Everything worked except the soundtrack.
Ah, yeah. That bites.
Yeah, that kind of takes a bit out of it, doesn't
Takes
it?
the mood out of the game, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Are we done talking about favorite Mega Man soundtracks? I mean, I think all the NES Mega Man
Really?
games do have like their outstanding tracks. Like even the later ones that you don't Ken, that you didn't really like. I still find like there are really good ones in 4, 5, and 6. 5 in particular, like I have a soft spot for like all the George Man, Gravity Man, Stone Man's theme. I think is really one of my.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. I do like all those soundtracks. I was just making a comparison between
Yeah.
the
But yeah,
early
I
ones.
get what you're saying then, like, definitely, like I said, like I said it earlier, that almost every theme in Mega Man 2 is iconic, which I think is a kind of unfair comparison because Mega Man 2 is already, like, put on this pedestal anyway. But, like, yes, if you start looking at the other games' soundtrack, like, it's much easier to find, like, kind of mediocre or not that great themes.
Just quickly, speaking about Mega Man 2 soundtrack, I know it's so iconic. It's definitely an iconic soundtrack. It's so iconic that I've actually seen people, and I've actually played. Someone actually made the entire Mega Man 2 soundtrack and ported it to Guitar Hero as a custom.
It's always gotta be Guitar Hero with you, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep. Well, it wouldn't be a White Devil podcast if we didn't get that also in there. Okay. We've talked for a good bit already, but I still kind of want to quickly ask favorite Robot Masters. I mean, for me and Ken, I think it's pretty obvious, but Kaiser, what about you? What would be your pick?
Gutsman.
Gutsman. Really? Why? Not gonna ask.
Well, I just really love his design. The big, bulky, sort of design. He felt really big for a NES game, especially when you fight like the big, gigantic version, like as one of the bosses.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
Gut
yeah,
Bulldozer. He's the
That
bulldozer.
just, yeah, that's
Mega Man
just
2.
impressive.
You know what? I was about to say about about Robot Masters not usually coming for multiple appearances. There's a big, if you count like, not just the first Mega Man game, but then the first Game Boy game, the second, the giant form, and then the redesigned version from Mega Man 7 when you fight him. Like, wow, that's a lot of Gutsman to go
Yeah,
around.
I also liked the design for Stone Man, but personally, I did find him a bit lazy. It just felt like a Gutsman made out of bricks instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
metal.
Yeah, they lifted the design straight from Gutsman there on that one. Funny thing about Gutsman too is that it's like it was in the very first game. You have every idea at your disposal because you haven't used any yet. In later games you had to try not to recycle anything and come up with something original. So you had a lot of the basic elements: fire, ice, bombs, electricity, and guts.
I don't know. I think it just Gutsman came from like the construction theme that was going on with the Mets and the remember the robots who threw like pickaxes.
There's
Yeah.
the theme is there, but why he's called Gutsman is no definitive answer for it. And I hope they never.
Because the Japanese like come up with weird names.
It's because he has a lot of guts thinking he's able to defeat Mega Man.
I mean, I made a joke about this in one of the cartoons. Like, look, it's supposed to mean courage. I guess he's supposed to be brave because I think in the third game, isn't it at the ending of the third game they say that he was which doesn't make sense. Wasn't he supposed to be like an exploration robot or something? Or am I mixing that up?
No, I think you're. Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah, they all had their little taglines and what their design was for. But yeah, I guess his exploration was just to destroy walls, and then you can.
So they
yeah, everybody else could run in there and.
Yeah. Weird. Okay. I got one more item here. I don't know if people. Well, I didn't say my favorite, but it's probably obviously it's Metal Man. Like Metal Man is like the always been the obvious go-to. I think we might have mentioned this in the first podcast too.
The only thing about Metal Man is that he's a little chubby.
Ouch! Really?
I think his design could have been a little. It just seems like he's a little round, like he needs to hit the gym a little bit. But he does have.
So So are you saying that he should be called Guts Man instead?
He should be Gutman.
Gutman, singular.
Just
Well, he's a bit more sleek in the 16-bit redesign, actually. And is he in the Power Battles, actually? No, going back to that. Because I think I've seen a 16-bit. I mean, not a 16-bit, but like another redesign of sprites redesign.
Are you thinking of Wily Wars, maybe?
Yeah, that was what I was referring to first. But I was asking now, Power Battles. Was he in Power Battles? Kaiser? Do you remember?
Who? Metal Man?
Metal Man, yeah. Nope. Yes.
I don't remember actually.
Ah.
I'm gonna have to actually look that one
It's a
up.
shame. Well, yeah, he's got a stubby 8-bit sprite. I guess that's where it comes from. But yeah, there's a lot of cool ones. I actually really like. Yep.
I mean, I was gonna say I really should clarify he's not really in all the artwork designs he's not that gutty, but in the 8-bit sprite it seems like he's he's round in the face and he's round in the abs. Depending on what though, I think it's only when he's not when he's standing in when he's not running in place or throwing the blades. It depends on the sprite.
Yeah.
If he's just before he does his pose at the beginning, that's when that's the image I'm really thinking of when he has his tubbiness.
Oh yeah. And also,
Or he looks like he grabs his crotch. That before he grabs his crotch, does the disco move. That's what I'm.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jackson Man.
Yeah. Yeah, and it might be just that because he's just recently, because I've been playing Mega Man 6, he's just on my mind, like Nightman's design. I really like that too. Too bad he's kind of easy as a boss fight, but I really like that design as well.
Yeah, I also forgot another. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say another design I like is the Fireman, because he's just a cute little Zippo lighter, so adorable.
What do you mean Heat Man?
Yeah, Heat Man.
Yeah, Fireman's the first game.
The Fireman has a
I made that
design,
same
too.
mistake when I was a little kid and making Mega Man comics.
That was somebody made that mistake in a I don't remember. I don't know if it was a Nintendo Power or something. They in the Mega Man 2 Game Boy. I think they had like a screen cap of the 4 warps that you take to get, and then they have like a little label next to each one to indicate which one you go in leads to which boss. And then they labeled Heatman as Fireman.
For Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy.
Yes, it
Wow.
was in.
Well,
I know that
he's not in Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy though, so that's even more confusing.
Well, no, he wasn't. He wasn't one of the 4 robots you fight, but he was one of the ones that you battle at the end of the game in the like the rematches that you have with the little warps that you take.
Yeah, but the point is, like, Heatman's not in Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy. Was it for the Mega Man 1 on the Game Boy then?
No, it was. Well, maybe I'm getting it wrong now, but I do remember that they confused either Heatman for Fireman or vice versa in one of those.
Might be because the Robot Masters from Mega Man 2 that are in the Game Boy version are Metal Man, Wood Man, Crash Man, which they call Clash Man, and then oh wow, I blanked out. Was it Airman?
I think Airman. Yeah, I think Airman was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then the rest are Mega Man 3 Robot Masters.
Robots. All right, so it was the other way around.
Okay, yeah, might be. Like it's
Excuse the pun, but the design for Airman certainly does blow.
Yeah, it blows. Yeah, I used to do that in the cartoon. That stupid voice for him. Damn it! Whenever I do get around to doing the Mega Man 2 Let's Play, finally, I have to remember to do the voices for because we did the whole Mega Man 1 Let's Play with Ken, and I was supposed to do the voices for the Robot Masters, and I forgot. We never got around to doing them. It's maybe because the thought occurred to us like really late in the game. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing to add.
Okay.
Just a little bit of silence.
Okay. And here at the end, I would have wanted to have talked about favorite lesser-known Mega Man games. Are there ones that you maybe want to bring up that people may not necessarily know as well?
Well, one of them.
I was talking about Mega Man Base. Like that's a game that a lot of people don't know of, but definitely should try. Despite Kaiser's complaints about the GBA port, like I think it's an awesome game, and people should definitely try it out.
Oh no, people should definitely try that one out.
Yeah, yeah. And anything else?
Well, there was. I did mention Tron Bonne earlier. Even though Mega Man's not really involved in it. The other one is Mega Man Soccer, which is a decent Super Nintendo game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I should try that.
The one thing though is that I don't like is that you like if you have I don't know the positions, but if you have like 3 forwards, you pick 3 of all the same Robot Master. So there's like 3 woodmen that would be in that position instead of being able to design a whole having a big conglomerate of Robot Masters. Instead you have
a lineup.
3 instead you have 3 of the same, another 3 of the same.
Huh.
Goalie. It's kind of a weird little trinket.
Yeah, I just kind of just want to try that game out because people might know this because I did the whole International Superstar Soccer Let's Play series that I have a bit of a soft spot for soccer games. Not sports games in general, but just soccer games specifically, so.
And the funny thing is I'm like kind of more of the opposite, where the soccer games are one of my lesser favorite sports games to play. But
nothing new to this podcast, people. But anyway, other obscure ones that people.
Well,
Kaiser played that racing game. Was that any good?
Oh, Battle and Chase.
Yeah.
No, that one's a decent one. That's just an incredibly rare one.
Yeah.
Because it only came out on the Mega Man X collection and on PS1. I was lucky enough to get that from a video shop when they were getting rid of the PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah.
No, that's a decent one. Very obscure one. It's pretty fun. Not the best racing game, no. Like the mechanics could have been a bit toned, but as far as a Mario Kart knockoff goes, it's decent. Another obscure one I want to say is, well, these ones are actually terrible games, but they're so bad you need to try them at least once in your life. And those are the PC versions of the Mega Man games that are completely different from the console versions because they were done by a different developer.
We talked about it. Yeah, we talked about that. It was high-tech expressions.
Yeah, high-tech expression.
Yeah, and that is weird that they would just make a game called Mega Man 3 and it would be completely different. And
also the Game Boy versions of the Mega Man games. Like, I feel they don't get enough credit.
They maybe do get it all ignored, except that I think they came out for the DS's Virtual Console, so they've been there for a while. So people should definitely try those out. Like, I have the most experience of 2 just because I own it, but 5 is one that people usually like a lot, and 5 and 4 are like the ones that people usually consider to be the best. Like, I've played all of them a long time ago, but my experiences of them are really I don't have a lot of experience with those. 5 is the one where you don't use a super shot, you just shoot your fist. And that's the only Game Boy game that had completely original bosses. They're all named after planets.
That's the game where I can't stop chuckling. It's like, hee, Mega Man's fisting all of his enemies.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird idea, but yeah, it's still like pretty cool. It was also a Super Game Boy game, so I guess it has color at least a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, another thing about him shooting his fist. Another thing I thought about when he does is like, are they trying to sell a toy action figure right here? Because it totally sounds like an action figure toy of hit the button, he shoots his fist.
I don't know. It came out just before or around when the cartoon show was going on, and that was a whole big toy promotion. Me and Retro Kaiser, by the way, we did a whole podcast about the Mega Man cartoon show. It's called Welcome to Your Doom Jerkheads. In case I might have mentioned that already at the beginning of the podcast, but in case I didn't, like now at least it's been mentioned. Yeah. Okay, but I think we're about done with this topic, so we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to do the Q&A. See you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the end of Mega Man Cast 2.0. Even though we had to drop off a few guests along the way, we're finally at the end of it, and it's time for
survive.
Yeah. And it's time for the Q&A, and it's going to be a short one this time because we only have one person who left questions for us, and it's an old friend of the podcast at this point, BooPop1987. She has two questions. Now let's go right ahead and read it. And she writes, I got two very good questions to ask you. One, who is your oh heck no movie character? A character who really did some very bad stuff, even some stuff that has too much information. That's very interesting use of grammar there. So who is your oh heck no movie character? Kaiser, do you have an answer for this?
I sort of don't get the question.
I think like somebody somebody who does something really nasty, like hell no, I guess would be one way to put it. Someone who is a really like just a dirty, rotten cheat.
As someone who's a dirty,
That's not
rotten
just
cheat
from,
themselves,
Yep.
I really don't have an answer for that one because I really don't think of that way about movie characters.
Is it a character we identify with, or is it just like a favorite that has a really bad?
She clarifies that somebody who did some really bad stuff.
It's a character that's done really bad stuff. But I mean, I'm saying like, are we comparing ourselves to the character? Or is it just our favorite character that's done really bad stuff?
Yeah, something to that effect. Like Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds comes to mind. Like that's a terrifying character who's like who's still like really really like nice. The guy who Christoph Waltz plays.
Okay, my oh hell no character has to be the Grinch, the Jim Carrey Grinch, because he stole Christmas.
Oh man, that's quite the pick. I don't know if Hans Landa can stands a chance against that one.
All right, mine does it have to be from a movie because
movie character. She says yeah.
All right, then I guess Shaq and Shazam.
Shaq and Shazam. I mean, we're thinking about like a character who does like really bad stuff.
That was really bad.
So comes to mind from The Godfather.
I just think the whole performance and the fact that he was there was that was the oh hell no.
Okay, well, I guess we got some answers of sorts out of that one. Okay, so her second question. Will you ever do a top 10 or a top 5 list that nobody has ever done before? And I think this is in reference to the fact that Boobop has this theme going that she tries to do very unique top 5 or top 10 lists, and she calls those the top 10s who no one has ever done before. So I don't know, Kaiser, are you a guy?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to do 2 top 5 lists. One is top 5 boogers that I picked from my nose, and top 2 is the top 5 ways to eat them.
Wow.
That's a joke. I'm not going to do that.
I mean, I went through kind of... I went... Favorite picks. Okay.
Are you going to post any pics of them?
What?
I don't know. I think I might just rub off that list.
Oh boy.
We need to get away from this topic as soon as possible.
I mean, I had something going with that, the idea when I did that list. I don't know if you saw that, my 10 least favorite movies from directors I like. But I'm sure somebody has done something like that. It's kind of hard to say that no one has done it. But like, I guess that's an idea for like a unique list a little bit. Well, the one Kaiser suggested surely is. Did either of you see that list, by the way?
Yes, that was a pretty good list, actually.
Yeah.
That was also a very interesting idea.
Yeah, it was then followed by my 10 favorite movies from my favorite directors, which was kind of not quite as interesting, kind of predictable even.
Well, you could do the top 10 best movies from directors you don't like.
Now there's an idea, except that it's like I can't really think of too many that I don't like. Like Uwe Boll and that.
Well, you can have a shorter list then. Maybe make it a top 5.
Yeah, that could work. That would work. What about you? You don't really you haven't really delved into the world of top 10s, have you, Ken?
No, I haven't, but I have kind of started writing a not a top 10, but it's funny because we're talking about Mega Man, so I guess it fits into the topic of the podcast. Is I was going to rank each soundtrack's stage themes from worst to best. So like I would do one video on Mega Man 1 and just rank.
Oh yeah.
Worst to best.
One per game. Yeah. Okay.
Right, and that was that was inspired by this website called Stereo Gum, where there's a feature where a writer does an article on, they rank a certain artist's albums from worst to best. So I was kind of wanted to do that with video. It made me think like, oh, maybe it'd be a good idea to do something similar to that with video game soundtracks. But instead of doing the worst to best soundtracks, I'd just do the worst to best songs and do a little spiel on each song, as I rank them.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a really awesome idea.
I just wanna have a lot of it written beforehand, so that way in case I do post it and then it becomes like the high demand for it, I have a lot of it in the backlog ready to roll, so I don't overload myself with work. I'm already busy enough as it is. And I don't post as often as I used to, so it's kind of one of those things that may or may not even happen.
Okay, and I don't think I have anything else to add to that. So yeah, okay. Thanks for that question, Boopop.
I think you'd have the top 10 reasons to go to bed.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Boopop 1987. And with that, we're wrapping up this White Devil podcast. It was nice having everyone aboard, including John and Chris, even though they had to leave. And yes, and thank you, Retro Kaiser and Ken, for making the effort again.
No problem.
Well, Kaiser kind of has to be here because he's the co-host. Thanks, Ken. For the effort.
Yeah, don't want to get.
I signed the contract. No, I signed the contract, and of course I didn't read the fine print. And the fine print was, if I somehow want to get out of my deal, Hanu has to own my soul. He's the White Devil, after all.
Oh yeah.
After all.
That's right.
Nice. All right. Thank you for listening. I'm Hanu TheHande Mäkinen. See you on the next one. Bye, everybody. You can say bye, guys.
Bye.